Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Planner Painter, would you call the roll, please?
Certainly. Good evening, Chair Lowry,
Here.
Vice Chair Drobish,
Here.
Member Friend, Member Russell, Member List.
Here. Thank you. Okay, does anybody feel a need to pull anything off the consent calendar? Okay. That gets us down to item 5.
I'll move to adopt the microphone. Sorry. I'll move to adopt the consent calendar.
All right, I'll second it. Okay, a motion on the floor to accept the consent calendar. All in favor, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Items of interest to the public. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the Commission on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. State law prohibits the Commission from acting on items not listed on the agenda except by special action of the Planning Commission under specified circumstances. The Chair reserves the right to limit the speaker's time to 3 minutes. The Chair also recognizes the speaker and asks that they state their name for the record. Personal attacks on individuals or comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's privacy will not be tolerated. So at this time, if anyone would like to come to the podium and speak on issues unrelated to the two items before the Planning Commission tonight, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll ask Mr. Painter if you have any communications.
No communications in addition to the packet that you received for tonight's agenda pack.
Okay, well, that moves us on to the public hearing for 3177 Cedar Ravine Road, site plan review, 2014-03, the Abazade residence. Would staff please present your report and describe your findings?
Certainly, this project involves the location, as you mentioned, 3177 Cedar Ravine Road. The property is owned by Waleed Abuzade. The request tonight is to replace 3 existing single-hung wood windows, their frames and sashes, on an existing home located within the Cedar Ravine Residential Historic District. Replacement windows would have vinyl frames and sashes and use dual-pane low-E glass. 2 of the 3 affected windows are located along the home's Cedar Ravine Road elevation. A 3rd window is located along the home's north elevation and can be seen from Cedar Ravine Road. The applicant and property owner have indicated in their application that due to the condition of the existing windows as having been nailed shut, having cracked and loose panes, and the desire for energy efficiency were the reasons cited by the property owner as reasons to replace the windows before you for your review and consideration tonight. The applicant has proposed a project narrative describing their request, a completed application form, as well as the window manufacturer's brochure, and that's provided as Exhibit A of the staff report. Give you a little background of the site itself. The site contains 2 existing single-family homes. The subject house, again at 3177, and a detached home located to the north with the address of 3173 Cedar Ravine Road. Both homes lie elevated above Cedar Ravine Road, as indicated by the picture in the staff report under Figure 1, as well as the application materials from the applicant, again, as part of Exhibit A. The subject home, 3177, is single-storied, single-gabled, with 1 bedroom and 1 bath. The floor area is approximately 900 square feet. A stairway and landing along the home's Cedar Ravine Road front elevation provides access to a covered porch that wraps around the front and the side of the home. As I mentioned, 2 single hung windows and the front door face Cedar Ravine Road. The staff has no knowledge of the age of this particular home, but it is located within the Cedar Ravine Historic District. The second home on the site, which is not subject to tonight's request, again is at 3173. It consists of 2 bedrooms and 1 bath, and it also has a detached double-wide garage located behind the 3173 home. Again, both of these homes are located on the project site. Neither the home or the second home on the property are listed on the city's historic resource inventory, nor are they listed on the State Register of Historic Resources or the National Register of Historic Places. There are homes within the Cedar Ravine Historic District that have been designated and surveyed, and those are listed on page 3 of your staff report. Those include the Cumberland Blair House at 3059 Cedar Ravine Road, the Blair Thompson House at 3062, the Shepherd House at 3116, and the Duncan House, the home closest to the project site, is 3129 Cedar Ravine Road. Now, the authority for your review tonight is based on a section of city code related to historic districts and improvements made within structures within those historic districts. Those code sections are listed on page 4 of staff's report. The Planning Commission's involved whenever there's an alteration that to a historic building or a building within a historic district, that those alterations are visible from the street. The application, as I mentioned earlier, does involve windows that can be viewed and seen from the street, and therefore that's why this project is before you this evening. As a role during this process, the Historical Advisory Committee is the first entity to review this request. And back on June the 5th, the Historical Advisory Committee did hear this request. The committee members identified the subject home's single-story mass, the covered wraparound porch, and the front stairs as the building's architectural character-defining features. The committee members unanimously recommended that this commission approve the request, citing the following: the window replacement would not change a character-defining feature of the home. Windows would be placed within the home's existing window openings, retaining the window opening spatial relationship with each other. Window replacements are single-hung style that would match the existing window style that are to be removed. And the request would further Goal G of the housing element, which calls for the city to promote residential energy conservation. When staff reviewed this request, as the commission is aware, you've seen similar window requests before you over the past few years. Staff looks at general plan consistency, city code or the city zoning ordinance for consistency, as well as the development guide. Staff's analysis is similar to the finding and review of the project as from last month, which was on Pleasant Street. But in this case, there is some minor distinctions. Those are related to the energy efficiency, which were called out by the applicant and stressed in a little greater detail in staff's analysis. But staff found that the request does meet the criteria under the Secretary of Interior standards, the city's zoning ordinance and general plan, as noted in staff's report. And staff did find that this particular request, because of its minor repair and minor improvement nature of the window change out, that the project would be categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, in that it involves a minor restoration and maintenance of an existing home involving no expansion of use. Staff did circulate this project also to other city divisions for review and potential conditions of approval. Those are listed on page 7 of staff's report as bulleted items. The bulk of those are from the planning division, which involve pretty much standard conditions of approval for a site plan review, involving the expiration of the permit if the improvements aren't done within 18 months, that the request, and if approved, would be specific to this particular address and structure. And it only involved the 3 windows specified in the application. The conditions of approval, if approved, would be binding upon the applicant and all successors in interest. There's a request from the building division to require the building and property owner to apply for a building permit for the window change-out activity. And that the final recommended condition involves, should a proposed future change to the site or modification to the application beyond that is authorized under this permit shall be submitted back to the Development Services Department, the Planning Division, for a determination of appropriate procedures. Staff did, as we are required to do, publicly noticed for this particular request. It went out to a radius property owners within 500 feet of the site. Circulation also went to the Mountain Democrat as a posting and publication on Friday, June 20th. There was a 10-day public notice. The city received no comments as of the date of this report and as of this moment. So therefore, staff does recommend the approval by the Planning Commission tonight in support of those recommended actions by the Historical Advisory Committee. Staff recommends that the commission take the action beginning on page 7 of staff's report, and that action continues on page 8, making the findings of fact under Roman numeral 2, and approve the request subject to the conditions that I just outlined. That concludes my report. I will tell you that the property owner is not here this evening, but a representative from the property owner is here, Mr. James.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Do any other members of the commission have questions for Mr. Painter?
I do. The little road behind the subject home, is that private or public?
The representative is yelling out it's an easement, so it's a private driveway.
It's private, okay. Okay, that's good.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to invite the project's representative to approach the podium and
Wally Dabazad.
okay.
We're replacing 3 windows.
Yeah. I'll leave it to my other colleagues to see if they would like to ask you any questions about this application. I think I'm clear on it.
Okay.
I do have some questions.
Okay.
In my packet shows your bid probably for 8 replacement windows.
Right.
But you're only asking for 3. Are you going to stage this?
No, we're doing all 8.
Okay.
The 3 fell under the historic just because they're visible from the street.
Yeah, the other windows wouldn't be seen from the street.
Okay. Because I went down Cedar Ravine and I can see the entire north, west, and south, except for the
Yes, there's no
window
windows
D
on,
with
there's no windows on the south. There's 1 window on the west and 2 on the west and 1 on the north. The 2 on the west, the 1 on the north are the ones we're doing.
Okay, but there's 2 on the north, right?
Nope.
There's a 6/1 and a 1/1. And I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so, and then on the front porch, isn't there one on the south side? In the porch area?
Yeah, let me look at the pictures because I haven't been up to the property in a few months.
I was just wondering because if they're visible from the public roadway, they should fall under review.
Right, everything that's visible from the roadway is listed on here.
So I'm referring to the west side as the Cedar Ravine side.
Right.
Okay, just so,
Right, the Cedar Ravine side has, 1 bedroom and the living room. And then the other window in the living room sits on the, south side.
correct, but visible from Cedar Ravine.
Right.
Okay.
Which totals up at 3 windows.
All right, well,
The only other thing's the dining room that faces the north side, and only in the back, facing the back road is there a window in the dining room.
okay. And then I have this 10-page printout showing the company and all they offer.
Right.
But I don't have anything circled saying this is what we want.
Oh, we're just getting, vinyl single hung windows that, they take out the existing one, they slide in the new one and screw it in.
Okay. Are you gonna match the grids?
Yes, everything, there is no grid, to start, there's just the window
On
that
the front.
slides and.
Yeah, 1/1. So that way, do your old jams stay?
The old jams stay, they measure them out, and they actually custom make the window to fit right in that slot.
So it's just a vinyl retrofit,
That's right,
and the exterior sill stays?
It stays the
exterior
same.
trim?
right, everything's the same.
Okay, so if somebody wanted to go back to the old look, it wouldn't be that hard for them?
Right, in fact, holes, they just drop the weight down in the holes, and they leave everything exactly how it is. It's a very quick process.
Okay.
The long portion of the process is getting them measured, remeasured, and then triple checked. Seems like it takes them 3 times out before they actually build them.
You do windows for a living then?
I don't do windows.
Oh,
No, but I've
I
had
don't
them
do
done on
floors.
other buildings here.
because
I'm a real
there's,
estate broker.
Yeah, Mr. James actually has gone through this process on property he owns within the Coloma Spring Street Historic Residential District.
okay. Previous meeting, we had somebody that found exact replacement wood sash for wood sash and was really impressed, so I wasn't sure. Do you guys explore that possibility?
Yeah, you know, I didn't this time around, I did last time around. I looked at having them replaced or restored. And, the replacement was, well, the replacement and the restore were real close to each other, $1,300 a window. It just wasn't cost effective. So you're talking about, $1,300 a window versus $300 a window for woodwork versus vinyl. Now, if somebody comes up with a solution that's more elegant, I couldn't at the time.
Because I recall the cost was about $400 a window.
That's fantastic.
So there's seems
If
to be.
I could get $400 a window for wood windows, I would switch over.
Okay, because I have a brochure that was actually part of that, and doing a Google search, there's multiple companies that offer this. Wood sash replacement.
That replaces the whole dual pane window, and
You swap out your sashes, you can have up to triple low
company
E.
comes in for $400 a window and I get the same thing. That's fantastic.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions for the applicant or the applicant's representative? Apparently not. Working off a script here, guys, so bear with me. Okay, is there anyone else here that wishes to speak to this application? Doesn't appear so. And we'll bring it back to the commission members to discuss. So, who'd like to open the discussion on this window replacement?
I'm ready to make a motion, and maybe we can discuss it after we make a motion. Is that okay, Mr. Chairman?
I am perfectly happy to entertain that.
Okay. I move that we approve the project and we add the staff report to the record and add the findings and the conditions to this project.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Andrew, do you Would you like to amplify that for us and put it in the correct wrapper to go into the record?
I certainly could. It is customary, though, if there's further discussion before we take the vote, that would be an opportunity.
I'm happy to ask for that.
Okay.
Once again, now that we have a motion on the floor, would anybody like to discuss this any further?
Sure. After doing some of this research and seeing that we can follow the city code that says like in kind materials, craftsmanship and everything, and also wanting to streamline it for these people so they're not having to go through 2 reviews, the extra fees. Maybe if we can discuss in the future, but if we pre-approved something like you replace wood sash for wood sash, you just go to the counter, maybe it's a reduced fee. Just start considering that possibility. Because this I would definitely approve. But looking at the house directly next to this one, basically the same era, same look, little working class historic home, and all the windows are ripped out and they're all brand new vinyl and it just looks horrific. Looks like the home's eyes have been ripped out. So to me, it makes a difference. I don't know how big of a difference it makes to other people, but.
Well, I'm in agreement, especially from the standpoint that if we can come up with a counter procedure or a procedure that can be completed at the counter without the necessity to resort to a $400 fee, maybe people might be encouraged to, instead of spending $400 in the fee, just go the extra for the wooden sash, and most everybody's happy. So I see merit from that standpoint, but of course that's a procedure and policy we'll want to discuss in the fullness of time. So go ahead, Les.
I'd go one step further, and when people come in with projects and they have landscaping, you guys provide list of approved, recommended plant materials and whatnot. Perhaps if someone comes in with a project such as this, and if what Commissioner Drobish has said is really fact, and I'm assuming that these windows can be repaired or replaced, wood windows, for a much less than $1,300 or whatever. If that information were available and someone came in, you could say, would you consider this? This is an option. And, so they don't get as far along as we are now to find out that maybe this would have been an option and they wouldn't have proposed vinyl windows, So if that material could be made available, so you guys could just say, here, take a look at this and consider it.
I did just bring this to Erica this afternoon. She said, "Oh, I don't need a copy of it. I have it." Yeah, no, there should be stuff at the counter to show people the alternatives. I agree.
But I think what we're talking about, Mike, is at some point developing a policy and procedure that applicants can leverage to have some certainty that this is an option that they can take. But again, that's probably a city council issue. Go ahead, Andrew, please.
Well, yeah, that's something certainly we can bring back to you if there are a list of activities that a property owner would want to undertake that meet a certain criteria, then that could be something that we would exempt from this review. But that needs to be formally put into the code so that it's clear from a property owner and public perspective as to what clearly is defined as an improvement or an alteration, what is consistent, and perhaps that could involve a little bit more time to go through the variety of permits that come before you. I can tell you this, though, that we don't take before you specifically projects that involve change-outs of like-kind roof materials. Technically, under the code, that type of thing should be covered under this review. But if someone had 25-year-old comp shingles, to have them come back if they want to put comp back on their property. We just don't feel it warrants the time, the effort to do that. So your points are well taken, and that's something we could certainly bring back before you as a discussion item, and perhaps something can be more concrete in the future.
Thank you, Andrew. So are we ready to call the question?
Absolutely.
Okay. All those in favor of,
Well, you ought to maybe do a roll call on this one.
oh, yeah.
Do you want a roll call?
Yeah, roll call vote.
Maybe just before we call the vote, because I'm leaning to giving the applicant more time to research staying wood for wood, and I'd hate to give him a line where he couldn't just come back if it was postponed. He can think about it, come back. Think about that.
One thing you could do is condition the project that they would be given the option to replace with wood or with vinyl, at their discretion, provided that the appearance met the aesthetic that you are looking at this evening, or as specified.
My motion stands as I gave
Okay.
it, but I think that option would be good if they decide before they implement the windows, install the windows, if they want to revert or convert to wood, that would.
The way the condition is stated, the approval would be based on what's before you this evening, which is vinyl.
Okay, my motion will stand then.
Would you like me to call? Roll call. Member Russell.
Aye.
Member List.
Aye.
Vice Chair Drobish.
No?
Chair Lowry.
Aye. Well, that concludes the hearing for 3177 Cedar Ravine Road. That moves us next to the continued item. Adoption of findings for denial, 2986 Coloma Street, conditional use permit, 2014-03 residential treatment facility. And again, ask,
Mr. Chairman?
yeah,
Unfortunately, I have to recuse myself on this one. My wife and I own property within the prescribed distance, so.
and you warned me about that, so I apologize for steamrolling you. Okay, well, there's that. Okay, so Andrew, would you like to give us some background?
Sure. Back on June 3rd of this year, the Planning Commission did conduct a public hearing regarding the request by property owners Tim and Ellen Page for West Slope Recovery Incorporated to operate a 10-bed residential treatment facility for adult men within an existing on-site two-story single-family residence located at 2986 Coloma Street, which is also within the Coloma Spring Street's historic residential district. During the public hearing, the commission heard from city staff, testimony from the property owner, and a representative from the West Slope Recovery Incorporated, and from 18 individuals regarding the request. Upon conclusion of the public hearing, the Planning Commission unanimously denied the request, with member Russell recusing due to a conflict of interest with owning property within 500 feet of the site. After the action to deny the request, the commission further directed staff to prepare findings for denial and bring this back before you at tonight's July 1st meeting. The findings that staff has prepared are on page 2 of staff's report under Exhibit A. And in reviewing the findings, the Planning Commission has the discretion to modify the findings, to augment them, to adopt the findings, or to set them aside. The matter before you, again, is a discussion item, and the public should be given an opportunity to speak relative to the findings. I want to stress that tonight's review, again, is on the findings and not the rehash or rediscussion of the action taken back on June the 3rd. That action was taken by the commission, and the minutes for that item were adopted this evening. That concludes my report. Once again, if you'd like me to read the individual findings into the record, I'd be happy to do that, or note them as reference. Again, Exhibit A, there are 4 of them on page 2 of staff's report, A through D. That concludes my report.
Okay, I think what would probably help frame the discussion would be the numbered items below item D. I think would provide us with adequate boundaries for the topics for discussion tonight. So if
Okay.
you could read those aloud, that would help.
For context, I'll read the entirety of D. D, a notice public hearing was held on June the 3rd, 2014, in consideration of conditional use permit 2014-03. Upon consideration of the testimony and the information received at the June 3rd meeting, public hearing, the Planning Commission denies CUP 2014-03 based on the following findings of fact. Number 1, numerous transitional housing, supportive housing, and substance abuse counseling support facilities were identified as located within or in the near vicinity to the site and the Coloma Spring Streets Historic Residential District. Number 2, the neighborhood was found to be currently impacted, having a high rate of crime and drug activity based on a high level of calls for police service. 3, the addition of the proposed use would contribute to an overconcentration of transitional housing, supportive housing, and drug and alcohol counseling support facilities that already exist within the Coloma Spring Street Historic Residential District and its immediate vicinity, which is cumulatively changing the residential character of the neighborhood. Number 4, the facility as proposed provided an insufficient ability to adequately monitor the facility on a 24-hour daily basis. And number 5, the granting of the request would be materially detrimental to the public health and safety within the vicinity of the site.
Thank you, Andrew. So now I'm going to invite people from the audience to speak to those findings, and who would like to come up first to speak to the findings? Your name, sir? Thank you.
Of the last meeting we were unavailable due to vacation time, but I did watch it online, watch the entire meeting. We have lived in that house for 20 years. We have put 20 years worth of sweat equity, including wood windows, that I've painstakingly restored into this house. And given that, we've had group homes across the street. We have the facility, the old hospital at the end of the street, which the landlord from Marysville really doesn't care about too much. I've known people that lived there in the past. And I would, without going into any detail, I would totally request that this be denied, because this is an historic neighborhood, and I would like to see City Council and the Planning Commission treat it as such for a change. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I spent a lot of time here arguing the points of the neighborhood, but gave up because the Planning Commission, City Council would do nothing to help the neighborhood. You know, and it's pretty sad when you've got places like Nevada City, Jamestown, and other communities that really care about their historic neighborhoods. It's really, really sad. And I've heard the testimony that people gave, and the cause that they're fighting, but it doesn't play with me. I'm a 3-year combat veteran. That doesn't play with me. Choose not to do those things. That's what I did. I went through it for 10 years. Okay? So that's all I've got to say. It doesn't belong in the neighborhood. Move it to somebody suggested, the business park over on Enterprise. Plenty of room over there. Move it to Serrano.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
If you want to speak specifically to the items on the finding,
Well,
and I,
just don't do it.
yeah,
Okay.
right, and you're, okay, thank you very much. Would anybody else care to speak to the matter?
Good evening, I'm Tim Page. I think you guys remember me from last month, and I'm here to speak regarding the denial of our conditional use permit. I'm having to read this, so bear with me. I've received the report from city staff, and I want to address the issues. Can I ask the commission questions? I'm new at this stuff, so I don't know how it works.
Generally, what you testify, if you will, and after we've heard what you have to say, then we may engage in some back and forth questions to you.
Okay. I'm going to assume then that no one did any research regarding the facts that were presented regarding the number of facilities. And I'm assuming, and I'm pretty sure that staff did not do any research regarding the number of facilities. We did. The number of dots on the map that was presented totaled 8. We've knocked on doors and made calls regarding the uses of these properties. Out of the 8, 3 were deemed by us to fit the description of transitional housing, supportive housing, substance abuse counseling, or support facilities. Only 3. If 8 weren't acceptable, would 4 feel better, counting our facility? We agree that the neighborhood is impacted by a high rate of crime and drug activity, based on the high level of calls for police service. We don't agree that the crime and drug problem in our neighborhood can be blamed on supportive housing. The chief of police, when he testified last week, I think it's called testimony, I don't know, when he was up here, he did not break the calls down to this level. I can't agree on data that is incomplete to base anything on. Can you? The study we offered, that I offered the Planning Commission, and no one wanted it, shows that property values actually go up in neighborhoods with treatment facilities. I would like to point out that our neighborhood is made up of many rentals, including all of our surrounding houses, not counting the church. Our inability to monitor our facility on a 24-hour basis was an item that we didn't address at the last meeting, not knowing it was going to be an issue of denial. We would have been happy to share with the commission our 24-hour staffing requirements that are required by the state of California. They're adequate for inner city Los Angeles, and we are certain they would suffice for the city of Placerville. Regarding our being materially detrimental to the public health and safety within the vicinity side is subjective at best. I would refer to my statement regarding the safety of our facility and the study we tried to provide to the commission on property values going down. In closing, I would like to point out that I know the decision of the Planning Commission is discretionary. I would like for your decision to be based on facts. That's all. Tell us the city of Placerville doesn't want a substance abuse treatment facility to open in Placerville. Let the people know you, as a commission, have made your decision to deny us a conditional use permit is based on your discretion, not on made-up or distorted facts. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Yeah, I have just one response to that. I thought we were very clear that we felt like an interim period of 6 residents would be a way that you could start out in the community. And from what you're saying, you didn't hear that or didn't follow through on even thinking that through.
Can I respond to that? Is that, I'm politically an idiot here. I have no idea how this works. Can I respond to that?
Certainly.
We're absolutely going forward with 6 beds, absolutely.
And that's,
By
and
right, as
by
a-
right.
By right, yes. We're absolutely gonna do that. It's gonna be very difficult for us financially to make it. We're relying on a bunch of people in the community to donate their time, obviously money, and other services to help us at 6 beds. At the 10 bed, never have 10 people in there because we have to have overnight staff. So we'll never have 10 clients in there at one time. By law, we can't. By our license and certification by the state of California, we can't do that. So
Okay.
we're typically gonna be 8.
Right, and these are things we discussed last month, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that for everyone that this denial of the conditional use permit is only for beds 7 through 10. By right, they can do the 6-bed per facility per California law, correct, staff? Okay. So it's not a denial of the project, it's the denial of the extra bed request, because state of California has dictated that they can do their 6-bed, anyone can, all over the place. Staff question, did you determine 1,000-foot distance to any existing residential care facility? Could you pinpoint it down to a distance, or?
Your question is, how far is 1,000 feet from the site?
Yeah, and do any facilities seem to be operating as residential care facilities within that 1,000-foot? Because as I understand that within the housing element, the 1,000-foot rule, I'll just say, appears to me that we can't allow another facility within that 1,000-foot, so.
Well, based on, as you just mentioned, the state statute would preclude the city from enforcing that 1,000-foot rule for facilities that are 6 or fewer beds, irregardless of their location.
Correct, and I was just wondering if adding to the findings here, since they're only applying to beds 7 through 10.
That's the request tonight, yes.
But could we specify that due to the general plan, housing element's part of the general plan, the 1,000-foot rule does not allow the extra beds 7 through 10 and have that in the findings? Would that be legal? Would it be a true statement?
There are some facilities that are described in certain ways in government code, actually the health and safety code, that talk about a variety of different types of care facility, and they have different threshold radius allowances around them. Only some of which, and I don't have a grasp really of which ones, but there are a couple that are particular, and I believe they relate to more of the medical care, 24-hour care, where medicine is dispensed and things like that. I believe those have a limited, and the cities, and even the regulatory authority that issues those licenses by the state of California can take into consideration the over-concentrations of that type of facility within proximity of each other. So there are some that are characterized in that fashion. But transitional and supportive housing are, by statute, they do not have those characteristics, those threshold radius characteristics. So, kind of in a long-winded answer, I think what came out at I know what came out at the June meeting was a statement about facilities as described by one speaker relative to a property adjacent to a bed and breakfast where there were 3 cabins located on that property, and they were occupied by a post, I guess, for lack of a better word, group home, people who were transitioning out of group homes because of their age for children. And that would be considered a transitional type of housing environment, clearly less than 6 beds. That would be one example of a project or a facility within 1,000 feet of the site. The applicant, the property owner, has specified and stated in testimony that they currently operate a facility on the site for 6 or fewer beds. That would be a second facility. There is the county operates a alcohol counseling center off of Spring Street, located approximately 400 to 500 feet, I would guess, from the site, but located within the historic district. So those are 3 examples right off the top of my head.
How does the treehouse facility, what category does that fall under? To my understanding, it's basically homeless rehabilitation. Does that fall as a residential care facility?
I don't know how you would classify that. Property owner could claim that it's just 6 or 7 or more people
Housing.
who are paying rent.
Yeah. I do agree that the final number 5 finding there is subjective. You could ask 10 people and get different answers. So I don't know if eliminating it or putting in, I think it should probably just be eliminated. It's too subjective. One of the problems I had with the increase of beds 7 through 10 is it did not appear to me to have enough interior leisure room per person. If there was going to be, you're dealing with people that are going through physical changes and reactions, and I think you can't just cram a bunch of people into a space. There needs to be basically a number of square footage per person per bed, and that includes leisure space and alone space, because the way it looked, there was almost no place to get away by yourself with your thoughts there. So I don't know if anyone would want to address adding a finding on there. Probably not, because there's probably no law that says square foot per person.
Mr. Chairman, if I could address the commission.
Okay.
Basically, what's before you tonight is consideration of these draft findings. And these draft findings were basically derived from your last hearing on this case, both public testimony, written correspondence, testimony, letters, and the deliberation by the commissioners. So it is not a reopening of the hearing. The hearing was closed, and so it's not a reconsideration of the project. And so your discussion really should be focused on the appropriateness of these findings for denial. The commission did conceptually deny the project, and so these findings are presented to you. Certainly modify them if you don't feel that the information provided to you at the last hearing it can support these findings.
I have a question then. So we could consider material detrimental to the public health and safety. Can we consider materially detrimental to property values?
If there was information or you discuss that at the last hearing, you certainly may add that. But you're limited. You can't introduce new information or discuss new topics regarding this application at this hearing and add findings that way.
Oh.
It has to be based on all the previous testimony and information provided you.
And the noticed agenda?
And from what I recall, there was quite a bit of, there was some testimony about property values at the last hearing.
Okay. Anyone
Well,
else?
speaking for myself, I'm ready to proceed with whatever action you need from us. If it's a roll call vote that we support these findings again, or are we placing this into the record, help me with that. This is a new process
Just a point of clarification, did you close the public input portion of this item?
Would anyone else like to
There's some
speak
other
to this?
speakers I would think
Yeah.
that are probably.
Are there any other, does anyone else care to speak to this issue? Again, within the bounds of the findings indicated. Yes, sir. Well, I'm not, we're not going to relitigate the findings. Okay, so. No, and I'm always happy for, anything you can give me, Andrew, I'm happy for, you know that. Okay, well, then, at this point, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to, staff and, look to staff for some sort of, direction on what, action it is that, is appropriate for Planning Commission to take at this moment.
Well, the action before you is to adopt findings to support the decision that you made back on June the 3rd relative to this conditional use permit. As the director has mentioned, these are findings that are set forward based on the information that came out during public testimony relative to the discussion by individual commission members post the closing of the public hearing. And so before this project really can be determined to be concluded, that findings need to be adopted. Again, you have the option to modify these findings, approve them as submitted, toss them out and replace them with your own, relative, as the director mentioned, based on the testimony and information that was part of the public record. Staff would recommend approval of the findings as submitted.
Okay, and I'm prepared to make that motion, but I will ask my colleagues here if they wish to make any amendments to that motion before I put it out there.
Go ahead.
Are you making a motion to adopt Exhibit A in its entirety? Sections A, B, C, D, and D 1 through 5?
That's my intent, yes.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. I'm not sure what further discussion we need okay, but if you'd like to give us a roll call vote.
Certainly will. Chair Lowry,
Aye.
Vice Chair Drobish,
Aye.
Member List.
Aye.
Okay, so gotta get back to my cheat sheet here.
As a reminder, Chair Lowry, this project, due to the final action taken tonight, is subject to appeal. So, and that appeal, the timeliness is 10 days from today, so it's calendar days.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any matters from the commissioner and staff?
One quick one. The next meeting we will be holding the second meeting this month here in July. The action request will be for a permanent parking facility on Brew Ridge Court, located in southwestern Placerville. If time allows, staff may be able to bring back the last chapter or one of the remaining chapters of the development guide, but this staff member is being pulled off into environmental documents for future projects that'll come before you, so I don't know if I'm going to have time to do that. But we will have that one item as a public hearing, site plan review, and conditional use permit. Chair Rivas, do you have any announcements? Happy 4th of July, maybe?
Yeah, happy 4th of July. I do want to point out that at the July 8th meeting of the City Council, the council will be considering the extension of an encroachment permit for 301, 305 Main Street.
Okay. So would somebody care to make a motion to adjourn? Do you have something else, Michael?
For a potential future agenda item, looking at the historic resource inventory list, and a lot of it is by assessor parcel numbers, just APN. I can't tell if the bell tower's on that list. To me, it doesn't look like the bell tower is on our
Because
historic
the
resource.
bell tower isn't on an APN.
I would like to bring that forward as a future agenda item to recommend to council that we include the bell tower on our historic resource inventory list, along with whatever other items somebody might consider worth adding to our historic resources. And then, sounds like the agenda might be too busy, but be thinking about possible, and members also, how we could streamline and what we could streamline for people to not have to go through so many hurdles. We could still keep it historic, like kind. If we came up with an approved list, like the roofing, comp for comp, metal for metal, over the counter, bam, get it done. So as long as it's in like kind replacement, there should be an approved list, and maybe people will be a little more happy about the streamline.
Thank you, Michael. Would someone care to make a motion to adjourn?
Will we adjourn?
A second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.